Yes.
Okay.
Well, let's please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll call this regular school board meeting of Independent School District 544 to order. The first item of business is to establish our quorum. Okay. Kirby Anderson.
Here.
Kelly Graff.
Here.
Jenny Christensen. Present. Missy Hermes, present. Stephen Bigasa. Melanie Cole.
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
A second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on the agenda? All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The agenda is approved, and we'll move on to our resolution on acknowledgements. I'd like to thank the following: Glenn Westra and West Tool Enclosures for their donation of stainless steel and aluminum plate to the welding program at Fergus Falls Public Schools. To Mary Dolan and Nelson Auto Center for donating reward keychains to Cleveland School for their One School, One Book event. Thank you to Tasha and Kyle Rolfs for their donation to Ms. Colhase's kindergarten classroom at Lincoln School. Thank you to Otter Elementary PTO for their donation to purchase liquid tiles for Ms. Danielson's music class at Lincoln School. Thank you to the Otter Elementary PTO for their donations to the libraries at McKinley, Adams, and Cleveland schools. Thank you to Lake Region Healthcare Eye Clinic for their food and snack donation to the Otter Closet at Kennedy Secondary School. And thank you to Kelsey Fellstool and Minnesota Motor Company for donating reward keychains to Cleveland School for their One School, One Book event. Will someone offer that resolution and move for its adoption?
I'll make that resolution and move for its adoption.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion on the resolution? Clerk, will you please take roll? Kelly Graff.
Yes.
Jenny Christensen.
Yes.
Missy Hermes, yes. Melanie Cole.
Yes.
Stephen Bigasa.
Yes.
Kirby Anderson.
Yes.
The resolution is adopted. Thank you. We'll move on to reports and presentations, and we're going to begin with Nancy Reard, our Special Ed Director. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you. Hi. I'm just going to move that a little closer. Great. Thank you for having. Oh, great. Do I point it at your computer, Jeff?
No, it'll catch it. Just the arrows will move it forward.
Sure. Or maybe you have to click something there. Good. Well, good evening. Thanks for having me. I'm planning to start each time you have me come each quarter with some celebrations and some things that we have going on in the district. We have first staff working really hard across the district, wonderful people doing great things with our students. I wanted to let you know about Rachel Ryan and Kevin Frank, who have been doing CPI training. They are our trainers this year in crisis prevention and interventions. They've trained 75 staff this year, and that's to really work on de-escalation of really high needs behaviors. Diane Marvel and Kara Johnson, Jenny Albertson are all currently employees with full-time positions with us, but have also taken on some additional responsibilities for some maternity leaves and just have done an outstanding job filling those positions. Lisa Miller and Ellen Anderson this year have established the E1MN committee, which is working on employment first for our transition students in high school. Development for some programming for 18 to 22-year-olds, but also working on some programming for high school students. Julie Domino and our ECSE teachers, we have 4 early childhood special education teachers who are working on a center-based programming for next year, and they'll be going to visit Moorhead and Alexandria to see their center-based programs, which is a great opportunity for them to get some additional insight into programs in those districts. This last week, we had our first CPAC committee meeting. Our CPAC is our Community Parent Advisory Council. This is the mandatory council that we have established this year. We're going to meet at least 2 times. We had our first meeting, like I said, last week. It's a parent advisory council for all of our special education students, ages birth through 22. And our goal is to increase parent involvement for children with disabilities in district policy making, decision making, and really encouraging more positive interaction between school leadership, the special ed leadership, and parents. The other one, that last week, the second part of our meeting was also called the CTIC, which is our Community Transition Interagency Committee. That committee met, that focuses on grades 9 or ages 14 and up, working on really collaborating with other community groups, working on, again, those transition services and providing more opportunities for our students to participate in the community. So that meeting, this was the flyer that went out. It went out to 600 email addresses inviting the parents to attend this meeting last week. Myself, Julie Domino, presented, along with Jill Mildahl, Tanya Stahl with Vocational Rehab Services, and Lori Sanders from Otter Tail County. All of them shared additional resources with the parents on ways to really connect with transition programming for their students in adulthood. We have an upcoming CPAC meeting on March 4th at 6 o'clock, and then the next CTIC meeting will be May 6th at 6 o'clock. We also recently just had our mid-year restrictive procedures review committee met to talk about restrictive procedures. And so in our school district, it's always a very last resort to ever put our hands on students, only in emergencies. When that does happen, we do have a committee that meets quarterly to review those procedures, to make sure they were done during an emergency and safely and done well for keeping kids safe. We were happy to discover this year that our overall restrictive procedures were down significantly from last year. At this time, it was about 36 to 17 this year, which was a huge decrease, especially considering we just started a Setting 3 program in the district, so that was good news. Speaking of our Setting 3 programs, those are going really well. I'm very, very proud of the work that those teachers and staff are doing. McKenna Peterson has 8 students in her program. Carrie Trupka has 7. We have established with Julie Domino and myself meeting along with the teachers and the Lakeland mental health staff monthly to work on more common planning, making sure we're all on the same page for those programs, and started developing a procedures handbook, which will be really, I think, beneficial for all of us to be working from. And finally, we're working and starting to work on ESY services for this summer. Extended school year services for students with disabilities really falls under 3 areas. Students that suffer regression and then have some difficulty recouping skills. Students that are working on self-sufficiency to be more successful at school, and students with a unique need for services. Right now, we have 45 students that have ESY services on their IEPs, and those will be delivered this summer at Lincoln and Kennedy. 15 sessions over throughout the summer. And that's a quick update. Any questions?
This has been so intense. Has it slowed down a little bit so that you're starting to catch your breath a little bit?
Yeah, in December, I really felt like things were kind of getting into a good pace, at least, yeah, where I feel like I feel the programs really developing and establishing themselves well. And the questions that come up are still sometimes interesting, but everybody's doing a really great job. So there are days where we're still running, but it's going well.
Any other questions? I was just going to ask one more. The
Yes.
CPAC and CTEC committees, are those restricted to just the people invited, or are they open to the public?
No, they would be open to anybody. We would
Okay.
welcome input, yes.
All right, very good. Great update, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next board report is from Kirby Anderson.
Okay, I'm going to talk about Finance Committee and also the 544 Foundation. I'll start with the Finance Committee. Jeff and Renee have met with myself and with Jenny and with Kelly twice in the last couple weeks. First on January 29th and then again on February 3rd. Just taking the first cut at the next budget. Looking at a lot of assumptions, throwing a lot of darts at the board sometimes because there's so many unknowns. Trying to make assumptions in the spreadsheet about enrollment, what kind of percentage increase we might get from the state, what kind of compensatory revenue things we might see, E-rate, Children's Corner contract, looking at expenditures like insurance, going up buses, TRA, what teachers' contracts, principals' contracts, and what things are coming up next. The READ Act and unemployment, and paid FMLA, and so on. So there's a whole lot of things going into the mix. I think we've got some things in your report. We're going to go over things today in our work session, so I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on details here, but there's a whole lot of unknowns right now, more unknowns than there's ever been. School finance has always been I don't want to say gray area, it's kind of a scary area. So we'll do the best we can and go from there. On the 5-4 Foundation, have not met since my last report last month. We are scheduled to meet this Thursday at noon this week. But as long as I'm talking about scholarships and foundations, I did attend I think a couple weeks ago that has to do with the Berry Foundation. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Berry Foundation. I know Jeff is. We talked about this. So the Berry Foundation is set up and they have a program called PAY. It's Philanthropy and Youth. And we've been in this for 2 years. Derek Abrams is one of the main directors, and I think Mindy Christensen works on this as well. We've had between 30 and 40 students participate in this the last couple of years. We've been in for 2 years. And they have really 3 different areas that they cover. They open it up for students to, as a group, solicit all the nonprofits in their community for grants. And then they review the grants, they review the applications, and then they make recommendations to the foundation as to how much each entity should receive. So last year, A Place to Belong got $1,500, YMCA Foundation got $750, Friends of the Public Library got $750, and then $1,000 each to Friends of the Prairie Wetlands, Greater Fergus Falls Corporation, and Otter Cove Children's Museum each got $1,000. So that's one piece. The second piece is that the students can apply for summer employment. They can get up to 9 weeks of employment working for a nonprofit, get paid $13, $15 an hour, whatever it is, for up to 32 hours a week for 9 weeks. And the foundation, the Berry Foundation, pays for that. So it's an opportunity if you have a special project, if you're a nonprofit, and it's something that you'd like for a student to work on for you, you can get that and their cost is covered. And then the students get to have something they can put on their resume. So it's basically open to 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. So that's the second area. The third area is even more exciting because anybody who participates in this, any of the students that participate in either one of those, they have the opportunity to apply for scholarships to college of their choice. And the foundation will award up to $20,000 in scholarships. And both NDSU and UND will match that. And we did have one student last year, was it one? Two in a row now, 2 years in a row now, where they got a $20,000 scholarship to UND, and UND matched that. So it's $40,000 towards their education. So it's a good deal. It's so when I went to this, I thought, well, they're going to want me to bring my checkbook. I'm like, no, they're looking to spend money. And it was at the Plains Art Museum, which is a really cool place. And got to have my picture taken with some of the more famous artists up there. So that was pretty exciting. So any questions on either one of those?
Thank you, Kirby. Next board report then, Jenny Christensen.
So I have not met with the Minnesota State High School League officially yet, but I did go to a breakout session at the school board conference, and the new updates that they gave were that boys volleyball is now an official varsity sport. They are looking into girls wrestling. There are some kind of different logistical things that they're running into with that, because some schools have enough female wrestlers to have a program, but some don't, and they don't want to split it yet and then have those female wrestlers not have a place to go yet. So they're keeping an eye on it, but it is something they're looking into. They're also keeping their eye on girls flag football, making that a varsity sport. The NFL is very integral in trying to get that to happen in all 50 states. And I know Matt had mentioned last year in a previous meeting about ninth grade now being insured as a part of the Minnesota High School League. So those are the updates for that, and I have yet to meet with activities. That will be this Thursday. So, yep, at 7 a.m.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Jenny on her report? Next reports are from myself. The Region 1 board, the technology school district that assists the school districts on the western side of Minnesota, met last month, and it was our first meeting with our new director, and we had 4 of the 7 board members are new, so it went really quick because no one knew what they were talking about. But no, we just gave an overview. We kind of established a little bit more with the new director what type of information we typically have received, and kind of accounting for his new style and getting things off the ground. But the general information was the type of services they're providing, staffing changes, and then just the onboarding a new school districts for the variety of different programs they offer. For Meet and Confer, myself and Superintendent Drake met with some staff last week, the Meet and Confer Committee, and 2 items were relevant to that meeting. One is something we'll vote on later this meeting, the school calendar for next year. I advocated strongly that we have a full spring break week to cover at least part of the time that the music students are gone to Hawaii, and so that is what we'll call calendar number 1. If you look in March, there's a green week, and that would be, we haven't had, we were musing about it as we met. We haven't had a week off in the spring for many, many years. It would be interesting to see if people take that into account and actually take a spring vacation that week, or how that might manifest. But that is one option, and that does bring us into into June. So our last day of school would be June 3rd, minus snow days. So, and then the other calendar has, both calendars have 2 weeks off at Christmas too, from the way that falls, but the other calendar then ends with high school graduation, last day of school, May 29th, and it just has the days off sprinkled in sporadically, and then just a little bit less time off during the year. So those, review those for our vote later. The other item that came up in this meeting and the last Meet and Confer meeting was just a need for some additional mental health supports at Lincoln School. Staff described just the difficulties in classroom management, some of the student behaviors, and we were trying to brainstorm a little bit about how to prioritize getting some assistance there. Unfortunately, a tougher problem to solve than that meeting could accommodate, but it's another topic that will be on our agenda as we are talking about budget and how will we spend our money. So with that, any questions on my board reports?
I got questions about the calendar. I mean, I get the music trip getting us into June. I just did a quick search of the surrounding districts, Perm, Battle Lake, DL, Underwood, Rothsay. Every one of those districts ends on the 23rd, right around Memorial Day. And we're always ending like later than other districts around us. And I couldn't really figure out why, other than maybe it's that we had trimesters and quarters, and that's kind of goofy right now. But you know, there's a couple of the days we don't have any more staff development days than the other districts do. Do you guys know why we go so late versus the other districts around us?
I haven't put any energy into that. I'll turn it over to the superintendent.
Yeah, that's fine.
Total contract days at 183. I haven't done a comparison recently, but that would be on the higher side. So
Yeah.
those are your staff contracts. 170 student contact days would be pretty normal.
Okay.
So it's building in the staff development into the school year. And then really there's just not a lot of decisions to make. It's how much do you want to have off during that winter break.
Yeah.
So instead of going 2 weeks off in December, are you going to do more of a week and a half, et cetera? But the way the number of days fall, you just don't have a lot of flexibility. If you're going to try to start, well, we're required to start after Labor Day and then try to finish up right before Memorial Weekend.
Yeah. Well, and I guess the when I'm looking at these other school calendars, I mean, they don't start later than us. I know we had an extra day off for Christmas this year, like on the 19th, but I'm always just confused as to how these other districts are able to get out earlier than we are. And is our teacher contract days, are they longer than other districts?
The 183 would be on the higher side for the region, I believe.
Okay, so that could be driving it, a lot of it could be driving that. Okay, maybe something to talk about in our long summer session as well. Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions?
I think the main takeaway I had from this, besides the week off and the going to June basically for snow days, is that we would still have graduation on the 28th and 29th on both plans.
That's correct.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Just make sure.
All right.
I guess the last comment is I agree with Melanie with the week off. I like the idea of having that off so we don't have a ghost town in the school while the music kids are gone. So, yeah.
Okay.
Would that entitle, would we be able to take that week off and still get out in May, or is that not feasible?
It wouldn't be feasible if we're gonna do what kind of quote makes sense for Christmas. We work with the certified staff on the calendar, and using a partial week during Christmas break is something that they just haven't found very beneficial. So we tend to round up and round down 1 week or 2 weeks. This week, or this year we did 2 weeks. But as Superintendent Drake said, we're fairly well hemmed in with our contract days, the times that there's school conferences, the staff development days, which need to fall within the school year. So there just isn't a whole lot of wiggle room for us. So I don't know that, I don't know any way that we could slim it down. If we're keeping that week, I don't know how we could slim it down any skinnier than the June 2nd day.
I think if we want to do a spring break for a week, this is probably the only year we would be able to do it, because this is as early as we would ever start, is September 2nd. I mean, we could start as late as September 7th, and that'd be a whole 4 or 5 days difference in the calendar. So this is the 1 year where we've got a few days to play with.
Yeah, the staff were kind of intrigued about refreshing, because that's kind of their heavy push from January to the end of the year, so it was they spoke favorably about it. But anything else on that? I will pass the microphone to Kelly Graff. Or Steve will.
So I just attended my first staff development meeting. They talked about sending several staff to conferences. They talked about narrowing it down to 3 because of all of the costs with such. Oh, you want more? Okay. Sorry.
That was loud enough. Because of the hotel rooms and the substitutes costs and things like that, so they did, they're gonna send it back to the teachers and then they will choose which 3 get to go. Other than that, they talked about a great speaker, Ricky White, coming back, doing some more training with them. They have a CUE, centered therapy, CCT for school trauma, for trauma and for schools coming up here at the end of the month for some training for staff development. And then they also talked about William coming in. I don't know his last name, or they didn't know how to pronounce it, but he will be some training with AI for them. So, and then I have not had a wellness committee yet, meeting yet, so I don't have any information on that.
Thank you, Kelly. And now I'll turn it over to Missy Hermes.
Okay, the District Curriculum Review Advisory Committee met on January 20th, and just by coincidence, it was Nancy Reard was one of the speakers that night, and she was giving us a review of special education programming, and she gave us a lot of really fascinating statistics that it's probably changed in the months since she spoke to us, but there were at that time 726 special education students, and that is an addition of 72 just since October. And and we did talk about the Parent Advisory Council that she mentioned tonight, but she said IQ Academy, it has 184 special education students, and that includes, there's 21 shared time students with our parochial schools. And let's see, she also had some interesting statistics just breaking down what are some of the special education needs in our district. So there were 177 students with learning disabilities, 136 students who are receiving speech therapy or services, and then 81 students on the autism spectrum. And it was really fascinating to hear her talk about how effective it is now at the Lincoln School to have that early learning center, to have the kinders and the pre-K students right there with special education. It's all in that one building, and I just think about that so many times, just listening to her talk tonight about just how great it is to have Nancy and also Julie Domino now as her assistant helping us and with having our own program. It's just, I just wonder if that didn't contribute to that lowering of the number of students that, the restraint that she was talking about. So that is and then we also had Mark Anderson, and he was talking about the Area Learning Center programming. And I was kind of sorry that Carrie Johnson, the director, wasn't able to come and speak to us about that, but it was, and he shared with us how does a student get into the Area Learning Center, and what are some of the different requirements and so on. And I thought that was fascinating. And he told us that there were 85 students in that program, and that's kind of where they cut it off, right? That unless there is a senior, he said there were 86, 85 is optimal. They would only allow additional students if it was a senior that really needed some intensive work on getting credits. Yeah. They also talked about, he also mentioned with Mr. Hurst, the principal at the middle school, and with Carrie, they're expanding targeted services for the Otter Adventures students in grades 1 through 5. And policy. Nope, I don't think policy has met since our last school board meeting.
Thank you, Missy. Report then from Stephen Vigasa.
Buildings and grounds has not met. It's gonna be a little tough to meet until we kind of know how much money we have to spend on buildings and grounds, and especially with the bond referendum not passing, we'll have to adjust our, 1, 5, and 10, 20-year plans. So by the next time I do this report, hopefully we would have met by then. But so nothing to report from me.
All right, thank you. And next we'll hear a report from Superintendent Jeff Drake.
Good evening. A few thank yous. First of all, hopefully you had a chance to see the middle school production of The Little Mermaid, but really fantastic. Lots of students involved, did a wonderful job. Costumes were wonderful. The set was intriguing. And then the student performances, both on the acting side and on their vocal performances, were really wonderful. So thanks to the cast, crew, and staff that worked on that production. We're really proud of it. Also, we had an all-school band concert, minus 5th grade, that had just given a performance a short time ago. But that was held in the varsity gym, and that was a very nice event as well. So thanks to our music students for that concert. Kirby covered most of this in his update with the Finance Committee meeting, but I've been at this a long time now, and I have never approached a budget year with so many things up in the air. Most recently, there's talk that on the federal level, Title I funding could be cut by as much as 25%. So there's just a lot of things swirling around that have potentially large impacts on our revenue, and statutes still in place with expenditure commitments that we don't know if the state will pony up to. And so it has made this budgeting cycle really, really complicated. What I can share you is this. This is current as of this morning. Again, as Kirby alluded to, there's a lot of assumptions that go into this, and many variables that we don't know how they're going to pan out yet. But if you look at the fiscal year 26 budget column in the middle of the screen, you'll see that we're projecting total revenues of just over $44 million. And this is Fund 1. So this is what we refer to as the general fund. We also have other funds, community ed, etc., that come into play too, but primarily we're talking about Fund 1 in our budgeting process. So total revenues, a little over $44 million. Total expenditures, if our assumptions are correct, a little over $47 million. So that is a deficit budget of just under $3 million, $2.8 million. Of the 2.8 shortfall, I want to call your attention to the table in the blue on the right side of your screens. So these are projects that we have essentially received or escrowed money aside, set money aside to take care of. We have a pool upgrade that's been needed for a couple of years. On the top of the end of that, it shouldn't be worse than this, but on the top end of that project, that could be $950,000 to have that work done. On the READ Act, so this will be for year 2 of training staff. We received the funding in fiscal year 25, but not all of the training was designated to take place in fiscal year 25, so we've escrowed those dollars. So they will show up in the future, but that would be potentially another $150,000 out of the reserves. So if you take that $1.1 million out that's sitting in reserve right now, what we have is an estimated deficit budget of just under $1.7 million right now. And all of that is tied to the number of variables that Kirby mentioned in his report. That's not taking into count the potential loss of Title I dollars. That's not in there. So there's just a lot of things that are unknown, but this is our best educated guess as to what's happening right now. The budget forecast for the state, which typically comes out at the end of February, has been delayed. That is not expected to be released until about March 7th to the 10th, somewhere in there. And that reflects some of the probably complications with this House session, but also some uncertainty again on the federal side about what's going to be allocated and what is not. Student accomplishments. This is always my favorite part of the report, and lots of wonderful things to share with you. Our girls Nordic ski team was the CLC conference champions for the first time in the program's history. So huge congratulations to the girls. And they also then ended up making history a second time when they finished second in the section and have qualified for state. So there will be a state send-off for them tomorrow during Otter time, and then they will compete at state on Wednesday and Thursday this week. So we wish them the very best in this historic accomplishment. I think we mentioned this, Mr. Hurst mentioned this before, but I didn't have any photos at the time. But this was the result of the middle school spelling bee, and just wanted to congratulate Eli Schlosser, sixth grader, who was the spelling bee champion, and then Jacob Warner, runner-up from 8th grade. And both of these young men will be competing at the regional spelling bee on February 11th. So we wish them the very best of luck, and thanks to Bailey McKinney for coordinating the program. This is also something I referenced before in a report, but these are the students from Nikki Weldy's class that went down and presented at the MSBA conference. Really well-spoken young men and women, very interesting projects that they put together. Couldn't be prouder of the way they represented both themselves, the work they're doing, and Fergus Falls Public Schools. So thanks to Emory, Caden, Tobias, and Berkeley for their work. We also had middle school math counts that competed at MSUM. They had a great day. Cade, Jacob, Sophia, Saul took first place and qualified for the state tournament. Cade Johnson was the first place individual winner and will be competing at state as an individual. And Jacob Warner was the countdown round champion at the competition, coached by Miranda Steer, and congratulations to these very bright young folks. Did not have a photo of this at my last one, but Snowball Queen Alyssa Wagner, Snowball King Christian Franzen, congratulations to both of them. And they did a wonderful job color coordinating their outfits, so really look very sharp. And then you've heard me speak about this young lady before, but Aubrey Seedorf is a senior this year, and she has really been setting the Fergus Falls gymnastics records on fire during her season. She set a school record in the balance beam at the conference meet with a score of 9.6, which placed her in first. Third in floor exercise with a score of 9.2, and she was second all around, scoring 36.325. The area superintendents are doing a book study of a piece of work called The Anxious Generation. This has also been a voluntary book study by members of the high school staff at Fergus Falls High School. I'm just going to show a couple slides of this. So essentially The Anxious Generation talks about the impact that cell phones and or probably more particularly a correlation between some of the struggles our students are having and social media, and the difference that smartphones have made in the way they interact both with each other and in the world around them. So if you just look at major depressive episodes, this is a comparison that goes back from the early 2000s to where we're at in 2020, and you can see the percent of 12 to 17-year-olds, both boys and girls experiencing major depressive episodes and the rapid rise in incident. The percent of U.S. undergraduates with mental illness, so you can see again the bipolar, anorexia, substance abuse, schizophrenia, those have remained relatively flat. Smaller increase in ADHD, but the anxiety and depression, those have just skyrocketed since about 2008 moving forward. So lots of things to think about. I'm only about halfway through the book so far, but it's been really, really interesting and has spurred a lot of conversation among the area superintendents. One other piece with that is talking about social media and how it has resulted in a decrease in the time spent with friends and or quality face-to-face interaction with their peers. And so another piece that gets brought up is a challenge or a side effect of what's happened with social media and the influence that it has in their lives. For school events, mentioned the state send-off for girls Nordic skiing. Tomorrow evening, our girls hockey team will face off against River Lakes for the section championship down in Alexandria. So the winner of that contest will qualify for the girls state hockey tournament. On Thursday and Friday, the wrestling varsity section team event will take place. I believe the following week is when the individual section tournament will take place. Saturday is boys swimming and diving conference championship as well as the girls varsity section meet. So good luck to all of our Otter athletes. February is I Love to Read month, and so it affords many of us a great excuse to get into the classrooms and read a story to our young elementary students. So if you're interested in that, I'm sure that there is a spot or two available to you, but I got to read one of my favorites this morning, Curious George, and that was in Mr. Kinnick's class in a delightful group of
Which one?
students.
Which
The
one?
first
Oh.
book, yes. Yeah.
I have been reading Lady Pancake and Sir Fetch Toast.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, good stuff. Tomorrow, right here in this very location, 5 to 6 p.m. will be another Community Connections that I will be hosting. There's no agenda to these, so please feel free to stop in and participate. You can ask whatever questions, share whatever concerns that you like, and we'll continue to make those opportunities available to our public. And with that, I will turn it over to any questions.
I just got a couple of maybe more comments on the budget. First of all, I mean we spent a lot of time in the finance committee. Every district in the state is going through this. Some of them tonight. I know Moorhead is cutting $4.2 million for fiscal year 26, another $2 million the next year, and so that's been covered in the paper the last couple of days in the forum. So that's a lot of the ESSER dollars, the COVID dollars are drying up. And everybody's dealing with the same unknowns. And then one more comment on the cell phone thing. I think Senator Alice Mann, she's a Democrat from Edina, she has introduced a bill in the Minnesota Senate to have the state direct that cell phones be banned for kindergarten through 8 all day and 9 through 12 during class. And I think Jordan Rasmussen is a co-sponsor of that among others. So there's some talk about that at St. Paul.
Any other questions for the superintendent? All right, thank you. We'll move on our agenda to the general consent items, and in this category for consideration of approval are the minutes from our January 27th, 25 board meeting, and then bills and treasurer's report. Grab that mic.
Yes, can you hear me? All right, I'll kind of go over the treasurer's report first. At the top, Renee educated me on the MSDLAF fund, which she said is just a savings and interest fund. It's not really a checking fund, it's just where all of our savings is. Currently, right now, looking at our general fund, our balance, our beginning balance was 16 million. Right now, we're currently sitting at 17 million. Food service, 886,000. Right now, we do have a surplus in there, and we are going to need to spend that. I believe Renee said that we need to spend 3 months worth of our excess balance by like July 1st of 2026. So that's from a new, I should say, mandate that they put forth with the food service. It doesn't have to just be spent on food now. It can be spent on supplies. And so some of that excess fund is going to need to be spent. Community ed is still looking positive. Our construction fund, we still have, where is that, $193,000 left in the Lincoln project that needs to be spent out of that. Anything left will be used for other projects like a water main break. You know, can't use it anywhere else, but if there is anything left, that's where that will be used. Our debt service is sitting pretty much where it normally is. We usually pay that, she said, around August is when our principal comes out for that. Trust, activities funds, those are all sitting nice too. And that was the treasurer's report. Going into the bills, so far we have spent about $13,000 in snow removal and salting. She said that was significantly more than we have in the past couple of years, but we've also had a lot of snow. So there were several items that were paid from different fundraisers, from both activities committee and other just like middle school fundraisers. There was some motel purchases for staff development. A couple things came out for Snowball out of Fund 21. There's about $8,700 that was paid out in this report for water main break. There was also a portable restroom paid out of the fund for the Nordic ski competition that we had. About $1,900 for special education therapy, an angle broom for a bobcat, and then some HVAC repairs at Adams for about $1,100. And that's what we're looking at for bills and treasurers.
All right, thank you. We have 4 personnel items to consider. A certified staff hire, and hence the music teacher for IQ in middle school would have a slight contract increase. And certified staff contract change would be Jennifer Smith, IQ special ed teacher. She'd have contract reduction effective of about 1/2. Effective on February 3rd. Certified staff retirement, Roy Anderson, library media specialist, effective at the end of the school year. And then a support staff resignation, Natalie Swenson, special ed paraprofessional, has resigned, last day of work 2/21. And so those are for consideration. And then last of all, looking for approval for the formation of a personnel committee. Would someone make a motion to approve the general consent items?
I'll motion.
Anyone make a second on that?
I'll second.
All right, discussion for any of these items? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. General consent items are approved. Our old business requires board action. I would look for a motion to approve the fiscal year 25 seniority list for Independent School District 544. Would someone make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right, and a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion there? All in favor of approving that seniority list, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That is approved. Now I am going to seek a motion to close a session under our attorney-client privilege. We have a pending employee grievance and arbitration. So pursuant to Minnesota statute 13D.05, we'll close the meeting. The board is going to exit this area, go to the little room, have a discussion, come back, reopen the meeting, and then continue on with our agenda. Remaining on our agenda after we come back are still several items of business. So With that, if the board would accompany me then to the classroom. Oh, yeah, I need a motion to close the meeting, please. And second?
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor of closing the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, the meeting is closed. It's 6:07 on the clock in the back.
I don't see it sitting there.
Do I need a motion to reopen the meeting?
Yes.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on reopening the meeting? All in favor of doing so, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Our meeting is reopened, and next I would like to entertain a motion to either admit or to allow or deny the employee grievance between ISD 544 and the Minnesota School Employees Association, custodial, secretarial personnel. Would someone please provide a motion in regard to that action?
I'll make that motion.
Two.
Deny.
So motion's made to deny the employee grievance. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right. We're not going to entertain any discussion given the personnel nature of this. All in favor of denying the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, that is concluded. Here we have our next item, which is the resolution of the retirement of Roy Anderson. Whereas Roy Anderson began his employment with Fergus Falls Public Schools in 1994, and whereas Roy has been a valued employee of the Fergus Falls Public Schools for the past 30 years, and whereas Roy has been a dedicated teacher and library media specialist for the district, and now therefore be it resolved by Fergus Falls School Board to thank Roy Anderson for his 30 years of service to Fergus Falls Public Schools. I'll offer that resolution and move for its adoption. Will someone second that?
I'll second that.
All right, is there any discussion? Clerk, will you take roll?
Yes. Jenny Christensen.
Yes.
Missy Hermes, yes. Melanie Cole.
Yes.
Stephen Biggessa.
Yes.
Kirby Anderson.
Yes.
Kelly Graff.
Yes.
The resolution is adopted.
Thank you. Next item is I'm looking for a motion for a vending machine agreement between Braun Vending, or with Braun Vending, beginning March 1st, 2025. Someone make that motion?
I'll motion.
All right, and a second?
I'll second.
Okay. We have the contract in our packet. Any discussion?
I think some of the teachers have spoken out about it, that they would like more vending machines in schools, mostly in the teacher's lounge if possible. Right now, one of the schools is buying pop and selling it for the price of the case that they're buying it for, so they're not making any money or anything, but they would like snacks back in there if they could. They have tried to purchase snacks out of there and beverages out of there, but they're broke or they won't take the bills or the credit cards or things like that. So we were wondering if maybe we could get some more vending machines in like the teachers' lounges.
Well, the contract says, snack machine, staff on the public area, this is just, let's see. We go as table it and come back to it later, if you want to ask a little bit. It says the location of the machine shall be as per Schedule 1 unless otherwise approved by the customer. And Schedule 1 just says public area, accessible to students, 1 snack machine, 1 beverage machine, staff lounge, 1 snack machine, 1 beverage machine. It doesn't actually say which building it's for. Just got vague, honestly.
Right.
Do you know which buildings are requesting additional funding?
Cleveland.
So that leaves us with the decision to either approve the contract we have before us and move forward with inquiry about additional machinery on Cleveland, or if we want to table this and if we address it at our next meeting, it will still be prior to March 1st. So we have a motion on the table. So
I move we table it and to get a little bit more clear language as to where they're going to be putting the vending machines, because it doesn't really say.
and is there a second to the table?
Until the next board meeting.
Okay, first, we have to vote on, either amend the motion that's on the floor or vote it down.
Okay. Would you like to amend your motion? Well, who made the first motion?
Jenny.
Okay.
I will amend the motion
To,
to table.
okay, to table this
Table this
discussion.
till our next meeting.
All right. And the second was by,
I'll second that amendment.
okay. Now do we vote on?
Okay, we're voting now on the amended
Okay.
motion.
So now the vote is whether we wish to table the motion or not. All in favor of tabling the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, it is tabled, and I do appreciate your tutelage. Thank you.
I need to go read Robert's Rules of Order.
Yeah. All right. Next item on our agenda is rate change for early childhood programs. It's currently $125 per month, and effective, looking for a change effective the 25-26 school year to $137.50 per month per spot, and $550 per month full-time, 4-day-week schedule. So would someone make a motion in regard to whether we will be changing the early childhood program rate?
I'll make that motion to increase to $137.50 per month, per
Like-
spot.
All right. And is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Discussion on this motion?
We talked about this right at the finance meeting. We looked at the increases that we had. It was 4 or 5 years where we didn't have any increases, and then we had one, and now when we compare it to area schools and their early childhood programs, and we think that this is really in line with those.
And including all of the Hillcrest, so even more than
Okay.
what's happening.
Hillcrest was $733 a month for that, and then the other ones, DL was what, 692?
Right, so they're still high.
Yeah.
They're still higher. They also have a 5-day a week, and we have a 4-day a week.
Okay. Any other discussion on the motion? All in favor of approving the rate increase to $137.50 per month per spot, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, that is approved, and we'll move on. Looking for a motion to approve our new school nutrition program joint agreement between our school district and Lady of Victory School for 1/23/25 to the end of March 31st of 25.
I'll make that motion.
All right, and a second? Okay, any discussion on that? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, looking for a motion to amend the farm lease that we previously agreed on with John Roll, effective from January 1st, 25 to December 1st of 2025. Would someone make that motion? I'll make that motion. Would somebody second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Anyone want to have a discussion on that item? All in favor of approving the amended farm lease between the school district and John Roll, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, we'll carry on to the next item, which is pool project vendor selection. Would entertain a motion to endorse the vendor for our pool project. It's not named on the agenda, so
I was making a question, are we motioning to endorse a specific vendor or just?
That's what's my question.
Yeah.
The packet with US supplies.
Right.
I thought we talked about design intent.
Yeah.
Yes. So the district personnel would recommend endorsing design intent architects and their team to do this project.
That's from the facilities committee, that's their recommendation?
That is from the Doug Anderson, Dave, myself, and Shay.
okay. All right. It would be a collaborative project, so the project leader would be design intent. Their chosen vendor would be USA Aquatics. All right. So a motion to.
Just one clarification. USA Aquatics is a completely separate. They're separate from design intent.
Okay, but that's just, look, we just pick design intent and then they
Yeah.
pick whoever they want, but,
They have a team that they work with.
okay, very well. All right,
So would we motion to select design intent as our pool project vendor?
correct.
I will motion
All right,
to select
thank you.
design intent.
Thank you, Jenny.
Yes.
And then, is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion on it? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. All right, the pool project, woo, is on its way. Been a long process. All right, and then the last business agenda item we have here is approval of the 25-26 school district calendar. And for clarity, let's just say that calendar 1 is the one with the full green week vacation in March, and calendar 2 is the one that doesn't have that. And so as you are making a motion to endorse a calendar, please indicate whether you would calendar number 1 or calendar number 2.
I'll make a motion that we approve calendar number 1, the 1 week spring break.
All right, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
All right, and is there further discussion about the calendar? All right, hearing no discussion, all in favor of endorsing calendar 1, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. And there we are. That concludes our business for tonight. Our next meeting will be Monday, February 24th, and we'll be here again at 5:15. We'll have a work session. We'll stick around and go through budget, weather protocols, guest speakers, and then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on adjournment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.